All right. So first and foremost, understand your why. Why the heck do you want to become an entrepreneur in the first place? Because as we know, the failure rate is extremely high, and depending on which stats you believe, as much as 97% of all startups at launch fail in their very first year. And many, many more never even start in the first place. So unless you understand your motivations, your why the heck you want to start a business, you're going to find it really, really tough to pick the right path ahead for you. Because as an example, if you simply want to make loads of money versus you want to have a positive impact on the world, two motivations that can be aligned but might be in conflict, the path that you take for your business might be fundamentally different.
Yeah.
We get everyone that we work with at Underdog and at Founder 15 to do a founder motivation survey. Simplistically, 10 statements that they reorder from most important to least important to them. So understand yourself first.
Okay.
Absolutely critical.
Excellent.
And secondly, identify your spike or your edge. What is it that you have the potential to be world-class at? Because the world of startups is not a zero-sum game. It is possible to for many startups and many founders to actually create value in the world. And that's what makes it so exciting. Well, at the same time, in order to optimize your chances of creating value, you've got to understand what you are good at, and not just good at, but have the potential to be world-class at. So that's the second most important thing. And again, that will be then driving you towards your playground. So once you know what you're good at and you've identified your superpowers, you can then choose which area you want to work in. And I would add to that also who you want to work with. So which audience you want to serve. And stick within that playground, because as we talked about before, if you're bouncing around different ideas, you're not getting the benefits of the learnings that you have made, the failures, the mistakes. They should actually allow you to, they should be your springboard into moving forwards, as opposed to saying, right, I failed, I've jumped into the water, it's not worked, let me start again. So that's the third thing, picking your playground and picking your audience.
Okay.
The fourth thing, and probably the most important thing, is to sell before you build. And we get a ton of founders who are very product focused. And this is particularly the case in technical founders who've got that ability to create products. But even non-technical founders who aren't fixated on technology think they should. And this is because, technology and software is wonderful. Software, like media, like this podcast, right? We'll record it once, and then we can replicate it into perpetuity for minimal cost. So it can have enormous impact. But actually, that is stage 2, right? Before you film a podcast, you've got to have something to say. Before you build technology, you've got to have something to build. And technology should be that booster, that supplement, that ability to make yourself redundant. We talked about Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Workweek earlier, right? One of his big things that really stuck with me was he wanted to make himself redundant in any business he started.
Yeah. Right.
Probably not worked in the podcasting game that he's done. He needs to be there, right? But certainly in his original supplements business, he tried to remove himself from every system, every process, and plug the holes with other people. So that's exactly how we should use technology in the startups that we build. We, in my view, should be doing it manually at first, learning what works and what doesn't, and then build the technology to make us redundant, not be product focused. So that's tip number 4. And then tip number 5 is don't be too fixated on raising capital. In my view, especially in the current funding environment, actually go out there and prove that people want and are prepared to pay for whatever it is that you are proposing to offer them. And it will make it way, way, way easier to raise capital off the back of it. And Jamie Harford, who you had on your podcast the other month, he's a good friend of mine, and he talks about proof and promise. So 2 different ways of raising capital. And promise is definitely possible, right? You can go out there and sell a vision and promise to achieve things. And if you've got the right pedigree and the right pitch, investors can back you. But those founders are few and far between. For most of us, and certainly for the underdogs, you've got to go out there and you've got to prove. Yeah, you make a promise and then you prove that you've achieved it. And with all of those traction points, all of all of that goodness, that is what you can then take to market and go and raise off the back of and say, actually, look, it does work. We said it was going to work. We've gone out, we've built it. It has worked. Now, why don't you back us to get us to the next stage?